Everyone is double backing on their comments regarding the Boulder shooting after it comes out that the individual that perpetrated the shooting was a Muslim American. We do a deep dive in the story and how it's affecting legislation that potentially will be passed, as well as celebrities that are double downing on the white supremacy narrative. This is your March 24th Not So News update. Please like and subscribe if you're looking for daily news content, and let's dive on in. Starting us off from the Denver Post, the Boulder shooting suspect bought guns 6 days earlier. 10 victims range from 20 to 65-year-old. We're specifically looking at this because if you remember earlier this week, we were looking at the Asian massage parlor shootings that happened down in Georgia, and specifically how they targeted younger Asian women. Differently in this story, what we see is a wide variety of ages. As I note, it was 20 to 65, and there are 10 people shot and killed by a gunman Monday in a Boulder King, super ranged in age from 20 to 65, including at least one grocery store worker and a police officer rushing to the rescue. The suspect gunman, identified Tuesday, surrendered to police after being shot in the leg. 21-year-old Arvada wore a tactical vest and carried a handgun and a long gun, a Ruger AR-556 that he purchased 6 days earlier, according to his arrest warrant affidavit, which was released Tuesday. He did not answer many questions by arresting officers about the shooting in the store and its parking lot. He is expected to face 10 counts of first-degree murder. They later on mention all of the victims. Coming from the National Pulse, though, what we see is shared by these individuals, though not their age, is their race. All 10 Boulder, Colorado victims were white. It's time to end anti-white race hate. The following 10 people perished in the recent shooting in Boulder, Colorado, carried out by Ahmad Al-Issa. All of them appear to be white, but neither the media nor politicians have bothered to resurrect the anti-race hate campaign that ensues when BLM riots or when Asians are murdered in Atlanta. The victims include grocery store workers, local college graduates, Medicare agents, a police officer, and an Orthodox Christian. Today, the National Pulse calls on the political left and the media counterparts to stop the racial hatred they continue to perpetrate against white people, which doubtlessly led to these murders in Colorado. They then have images of all the people that were shot in the victim, and this does bring up an issue that we've been saying. In the rise of movements of BLM and Antifa, what we have seen is individuals within those movements abuse those movements into stances that are explicitly anti-white. We've seen the rise of black superiority movements coming from celebrities as well. And we need to make sure that the answer to white issues is not to just also make it so instead of white supremacy, we deal with black supremacy instead. Coming from the Post-Millennial, revealed Boulder shooter Ahmad Al-Issa expressed anti-Trump sentiment, reportedly had ISIS sympathies. In the article, this is based on Jack Prosbiek reporting. Alleged Boulder, Colorado shooter Ahmad Al-Issa reportedly had ISIS sympathies, an anonymous White House staffer said on Tuesday, according to Jack Prosbiek. Screenshots from social media pages have also been obtained by the Post-Millennials Ian Miles Chang. Prior to the page being deleted, the screenshots showed that Al-Issa was a practicing Muslim arguing against Islamophobia and for increased acceptance of refugees. Al-Issa also shared anti-Trump content. They then have a sketch that was reported by Annie No. Al-Issa, 21, is in custody and has been accused of killing 10 people, including a police officer, after opening a fire inside King Soopers grocery store in Boulder, Colorado, Monday afternoon. He has been charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder. Andy No was one of the first to report on the sympathies in a tweet. Breaking: the suspect in Boulder, Colorado mass shootings where 10 were murdered has been identified as Ahmad Al-Issa. He was first described as a white male. His social media, which is now deleted, show he was a religious Muslim who posted frequently about Islamophobia. We do want to note that you obviously can be a white Muslim. However, he does look like he has some type of Middle Eastern descent when looking at images of him. Here's him being taken out. The Muslims at the Christchurch mosque were not the victims of a single shooter. They were the victims of the entire Islamophobia industry that vilified them. Obviously, we see sympathies here for those that committed the Christchurch events. So Mary wears a hijab and Jesus doesn't eat pork and prays on his knees and hands. They're both Muslims. It's obvious. Obviously, anyone that's not Muslim can do any of these. Finally, yeah, if these racist, Islamophobic people would stop hacking my phone and let me have a normal life, I probably could. And this is a report of this content isn't available right now. Obviously, what we see here is a unfortunate trend, and this kind of just backs on a lot of the unfortunate Islamophobic stances that we do see on the right of people targeting Muslims, Middle Easterns, Arabs, based on their religious affiliation rather than their religious ideas. We do need to separate that these individuals don't represent mainstream Islam, but there can be a critique of Islam without it being Islamophobic. This is the obvious stance that the left normally has had until they really just dance into the cultural theater that they currently do. Coming from Fox News, Kamala Harris's niece blasted for tweet assuming Colorado shooter was a white man. This is wild. In an article, Vice President Kamala Harris's niece said Tuesday she assumed the suspected mass shooter in Colorado was a white man in part because he was taken into custody alive, leading to accusations she engaged in racial profiling. Mina Harris was forced to delete a tweet erroneously assuming the race of the suspected killer of 10 people in a Boulder grocery store after it was revealed he was of Syrian descent. The Atlanta shooting was not even a week ago. Violent white men are the greatest terrorist threat to our country, Mina Harris tweeted on Monday. Now that 21-year-old Ahmad Al-Issa is in custody for a shooting, Harris admitted her assumption was based on him being taken into custody alive and the fact that the majority of mass shootings in the United States are carried out by white men. In the tweet, I deleted I deleted a previous tweet about the suspect in Boulder shooting. I made an assumption based on his being taken into custody alive and the fact that the majority of mass shootings in the United States are carried out by white men. This does set up a very interesting predicament for the left, as they have been, praising an individual that died in the shooting for being a police officer, while also, here attacking police officers for apparently only taking down black shooters. I think what we generally see is we take down the shooters that are still a threat. Coming out of ABC News, we have the report 10 killed in Boulder shootings, victim identifies, suspects charged. What this eventually leads to is similar stories that we've been talking about, but it eventually goes on to this praising of the police officer. A woman lights 10 candles outside the Boulder Police Department in honor of Officer Eric Talley and the 9 other shooting victims who lost their lives yesterday. Makes you really wonder if they do indeed believe in ACAB, or if it's only ACAB when it's, in their state. However, what we do see coming from Biden is calls for new gun legislation. The suspect bought a Ruger AR-556 pistol on March 16th, according to the arrest warrant affidavit. Biden urged lawmakers on Tuesday to take action by banning assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. I don't need to wait another minute, let alone another hour, to take common-sense steps, he said. The Senate should immediately pass the 2 House passed bills that close loopholes in the background check system, Biden said. Biden has ordered flags to be flown at half-staff at the White House. Last week, the president ordered flags to fly at half-staff in honor of the Georgia spa shooting victims. That order expired sunset on Monday. The issue with this is these 2 HR legislations that are trying to be passed would not have stopped the shooting. As we reported earlier, he brought 2 guns with him. One would be banned under this new system, and as far as I've understood, there's been no report of the background check being an issue in the process of him getting a gun. There has been talks about changing the way that background checks work and making it so if the the way that it currently works is you have 3 days to get a background check completed before a gun seller is able to just sell you without having the background check completed, and there's talks of changing that from 3 to 10 days. I personally don't have a significant issue with that. The question, though, is why does it take so long to get a background check? My understanding is that really just takes mostly a scanning of social media, potentially looking at employment statuses and foreign ties. Really, it seems like the kind of thing that should be completely automated and take a matter of minutes, let alone a couple of days. Seems like a bit far-stretched. However, we see from Luke Rutkowski the real end issue here. Luke is a journalist, works a lot with Tim Pool currently, and he has a response to President Biden, who tweeted earlier today. Biden tweeted, "We can ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. We can close loopholes in our gun background check system. This is not a partisan issue. It's an American issue that will save lives. Congress needs to act." Once again, these issues that he's bringing up do not solve any of the murders that happened in these events. However, Luke does bring up one thing, because this works so well in Chicago, who had similar bans and saw gun violence continue. How about you get your CIA boys to stop funding radical jihadism in the Middle East? What we've seen earlier this presidency with the attack on Syrians, as well as continue issues since, let's be honest, back in the Bush days, is just involvement in the Middle East that doesn't need to be there, and is probably the cause for a lot of this type of violence. We need to get our act together. We need to clean up our own house before we tell others to clean up their own. It's time to get out of the Middle East, and this is what we need. And this is your March 24th Times News update. Once again, please like and subscribe if you're looking for daily news content, and have a good one.